Welcome to the World of Art with Paul Crimi. Tonight we're going to do a painting of birch trees, but I did bring a photograph from the last show, and I did finish this painting. I said when I was doing it in the last show, I shouldn't have even attempted to do it, but you know something? If you challenge yourself, it pushes you to another place. Most people refuse to challenge themselves. They're too set on what they want to do and how they want to do it. But I've found at my age, 76, the more I challenge myself, the better the painting comes out. Of course, I took it home, put it in the studio, and worked on it for another, well, I did it in an hour on the show, and I worked on it for another 17 hours. People say, how could you work on a painting for 17 hours? Well, every single dot in this painting has a purpose, like the photograph. And so that I was very pleased with the way the painting came out. I think it's kind of neat. I never put it in a show. I wanted to, and my wife says, well, I don't think you should put it in the show, Paul, because a lot of people put flower paintings in. So I didn't put it in the show. I just put it away. And so tonight, I brought a canvas with me, a black canvas. I'm going to take down this, take off this canvas with the frame, put it on the floor over here, and get rid of the photograph and put up what I want to paint tonight. And I brought a painting from my collection of birch tree paintings. So I have done 176 birch tree paintings, and I only have about 12 of them left. And most of them that I have left, I don't really want to sell, so that's why I still have 12. But tonight, this is the kind of a painting I'm going to do. I didn't bring the same exact canvas. I brought a different size canvas, but I'm going to paint a painting like this, so that's why I brought it to show you. So I'm going to get this down, put it out of the way, put up the canvas. Maybe we'll go up a little higher here. Good. I love these portable canvases. I use this canvas when I go out and paint plein air. I have a great time. It holds up pretty good once I get it cinched and tightened. But if it's a strong wind, forget it. All right, so we're going to do this birch tree painting, and it's done in steps. So I'm going to show you. Step one is you got to paint. I'm looking for the right brush. I should have done this earlier, but I'm always one of these guys that waits till the last minute. Drives my wife nuts. I think I like driving her nuts. We're married 56 years. She says, are you ever going to be prepared, Paul? And I said, I doubt it. Maybe this one here. All right, so when I do a birch tree painting, I have to get a figure in my mind, a situation that I want to do. So what I'm going to do is put a tree in the middle, and then I'm going to put these trees going back on each side so that this tree's coming at you and the trees are going to the side. So how I do that is I'll start off like this. I'm using gesso and white paint. Gesso is the chemical paint that they use to put on the canvases before you start. But I happen to love these black canvases. I used to say this when all the canvases were white. And then one of the canvas people must have heard me say I love black canvases because they started making black canvases. And I have a daughter that's 52 years old, and she's a fabulous artist, Ellen Crimi Trent, and she lives in Abington. And for years and years and years, I told her she should paint on black canvases. And now, she's just started to do it in the last couple of years. It cracks me up. And she says, my father told me for years I should paint on black canvases. So this tree is going to go like this. So we get the tree. This is the first tree. We're not going to get fancy. We're just using a lot of gesso and just going to let that. And then the second tree, further back on this side, a little smaller, baby, just a touch, up and down. And all of a sudden, you're going to see this painting come to life. And I'm not going to hurry it. I'm going to take my time. Another tree. Somebody's out there saying, this is silly. It's going to look like they're all on the same level or the same place. I said, no. As I get into the painting, you'll see it. The trees will go back further and further and further. I don't know if you've noticed, but they're getting a little smaller, but who cares? That doesn't make any difference. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to get this first coat on. This is the subcoat. I got to step back and take a look. Oh, they're already leaning to kind of doing something weird. I got to pull it so they'll straighten them up a little. I have a tendency to do that. I don't know what it is. Must be something. I mean, some girl in Texas emailed me one time and she says, all your still lifes lean to the left. And I says, really? That's nice to know. Thank you. So I looked at them and she was right. They all lean to the left. So I try to make a difference and make them not lean to the left as much. It's weird. All right, just keep painting away the gesso and the white paint. You can put a couple in the background here. Put one way back here. Some of them, maybe I'll put one back here too. Because those birch trees, they get really close to each other, some of them. We're just going to have fun. If it doesn't come out perfect, we can always make it perfect. You know, black covers up white beautifully. You know something about painting? You're in charge. If you don't like the way it looks, you can always get out black gesso and paint over what you just did. Start again. You don't want to put on too much paint because you want to be able to dry it. I have this thing about I want to get into the painting and I want the painting to get done. I don't want it to take forever. So I put very light coats on top of each other, and I then take my blower and dry it. It doesn't take long to dry it. I bought this dryer at Walmart for like $17. The one I used for like 30 years, I paid $350 when I was a hairstylist for this blower from China, and it was magnificent. But finally, after all those years, I wore it out. It's kind of hard to say that, but it's true. But I won't throw it away. I figured I'll see if I can get somebody to fix it for me eventually. But I couldn't wait, so I went out and bought one at Walmart for $17. And I can't believe how good it is, this thing. So now that I've got the gesso on the canvas, I'm going to go back in and use white paint. On top of the gesso, because I want the white paint to jump out. So that, like the painting of the one I showed you earlier, it has a really nice side where all the white is real strong. Everything is so nice and easy too. You know, you don't have to kill yourself when you do something like this. It just works. You got to be patient with yourself and just go with the flow. Don't worry about any of it. It'll all work. When you've painted so many of these, I probably could paint these in my dreams. And God, I painted so many of them. I just did one for my son in Bend, Oregon. He had a fuse box he didn't like, and he wanted me to do a painting to put over the fuse box, because my other son had a fuse box in Hanover in his house, and he hated the way the fuse box looked, so he went out and got a piece of plywood and brought it to me, and then I painted a whole series of birch trees on the plywood, and when he sold the house, he left that particular picture with him, and I said, "What'd you do that for?" And he said, "Well, I didn't want to take it away from the guy." I'll tell you, must be nice. I mean, this looks like it's laborious, but I tell you, in a few minutes when I start doing stuff to this painting, you'll see a change. It'll have a whole nother look. But you got to be patient. I think that the trouble with most people who say they can't paint is they have no patience. I think if you learn how to be patient with yourself and then start to paint, you might be a better painter. That's just my observation. I know that when I was younger, I was not as patient as I am now as I get older. I think that I sort of go with the flow. I don't let it get too uptight about anything anymore. Stuff happens, you gotta live with it. All right, here we go. So we got the second layer on. Let me dry that. I didn't put any white on this one in the middle, this little tiny one. I wanted it to be further back, so it'll have a little more dark. And I left some of the dark on this one. All of these trees are not perfect, they're a mess. And so that's what I love about them. In Bend, Oregon, it's like Denver. It has these aspens, and they're from the birch tree family, but they're not as pretty as the birch trees. The birch trees are whiter and they're grayer. But they think their aspens are better than the birch trees. You can't argue with that stuff. I just laugh and say, I don't think so. So the next step is putting the black on. Going like this. You start at the bottom. Put this little circle, half circle. And nothing has to be perfect because it's going to get covered somehow, so don't worry about it. No, I want it to be different. I listen to all of this stuff. When I do these paint parties sometimes, I have more difficulty trying to get people to just chill and let it go and watch it happen. And one lady says, I don't want to paint yellow leaves, I want to paint orange leaves. Paint any color leaves you like, lady. Not being rude. I just say, this is what I'm teaching. If you don't want to do what I'm teaching, then you can do what you want to do. It's not a negative thing. I was trained at a school in Boston, at the Boston Museum School, when I was a kid. I started going to there when I was 12 years old on Saturday. And boy, some of the stuff they made us do then, God. But I understand why. It makes you a better artist. So I just keep putting these little dots on, and I get all of these on. I have this routine with this birch tree stuff that I follow almost all the time. And I think that because I've done and sold so many of them and been very successful, I keep doing it. I want to see how this looks. I want to step back a little. Oh yeah, it's going to be nice. This can be laborious. Some people say, "Oh, how boring this is just to put these silly little lines on." But you can. This takes the most amount of time right here, and the rest of it sort of flows. I've got letters from all over Europe, people saying, "Oh my God, we love the way you paint the birch trees," and oh. Because I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been doing this TV show, and it's been on YouTube for years. And I think one of my birch tree paintings had 190,000 people look at it. It was a monster, too. It took forever to do. And I had to go like really crazy fast. I'm trying to take my time because I don't want to hurry this, but I want you to pick up on how it's doing and how I do it. So once you get all of this stuff done, all of these lines, then you can start doing some of the other stuff, which will be done in a few minutes. And I try not to keep all of the lines in the same position. I try to make sure that I'm a little off further down rather than have them all in the same place. So now you go in and you start doing stuff like this. Birch trees have all of these marks all over them, so you just put them on. I said, well, how do you do that? How do you just dab it like that? Touch it. Now, it's already starting to look like birch trees, I think. Get them all marked up. In a minute I'll dry this, and then we'll start doing some really crazy stuff. Okay. I really want to get the top of these dried really good because when I put the yellow leaves up there, I don't want them to turn black. I'm going to put some branches on these trees too. There are going to be some white ones and some black ones. Most of the birch trees have black branches, and people don't even notice. So if you want to put some branches on, you go like this. I use the gesso. I like that. It's a little thicker than the white. I have a whole series of these. I still have some of them. I think I have maybe 5 or 6 that are just black and white like this. There's something about them that intrigues me. I think that they have this power of pulling you in and pushing you around somewhat. And the ones that I love the most are black and white. I like black and white art better than anything else anyways. I think it's a much better medium. A lot of people don't know how to do it, and they don't know the values. So it doesn't work for them. But I was taught printmaking as a kid at the museum school, and because I was taught printmaking, it gave me a foundation for learning how to mix color. I tell people if you want to be a great colorist or fantastic colorist, spend a couple of years just doing black and white. I mean, I wanted to paint clouds. And I really said to my wife one day, she says, I'm going to spend some time just painting the sky and clouds. And my wife says, won't that get kind of boring? I don't know, we're going to see what happens. 2 years later, she says, you're still painting clouds and skies. And I says, yeah, because I think that I finally learned how to do it. So this is what I do. I start putting different variations of yellow on the canvas by touching it like this to put the leaves on. And all of a sudden, the leaves will hopefully take and start to show up. I just touch the canvas like this. So I do this thing with the clouds, and people start buying them like crazy. I got a whole big, huge following of people. And to this day, when I post one of my beach scenes, people will say, you know, I love the sky. They don't say they like the sand or they like this or they like that. They just like the sky. I did a painting about, I don't know, maybe 30, 35 years ago, and my brother Vinny had just hit the lottery. And I was in the middle of painting this painting, and he came in and said, oh, I love that painting, Paul. And I says, oh, God. I think it was maybe 81 or 82. And my brother's passed since. He died of Alzheimer's at 71 on his birthday. And he had a bunch of my paintings, because my brother and my other brother does too. So his daughter calls me up, my niece, which happens to be my godchild, says, I'm going to bring by some paintings that my mother's going into a nursing home and she's giving up her condo. And so we decided to give you the paintings back. And I'm going to bring the painting next show and show you it, because I'm going to put it in a show eventually. I love it. It's on the mantle of my house. And I said to my brother, I really don't want to sell this painting. It probably would sell for like $1,500, which was a fortune then, because $1,500 was like 6 months worth of work. And he puts $1,500 on the table and says, I just hit the lottery, and here's $1,500. I said, oh my God. And so I got this painting in, but I don't know if I'll ever sell it. I think I'll keep it in memory of my brother. You're such a great guy. We were really close. We're only a year apart. My mother had 4 kids, 42, 43, 44. 42, 43, 44, 45. 3 boys and 1 girl. The girl was the last of the crew. Now she's got Alzheimer's. Oh. So my brother Joey and I are in the middle of this, and we don't have Alzheimer's, thank God. Although my wife keeps teasing me. You're starting to forget everything. I said, well, I am 76. You can't forget I'm married. You keep reminding me. And she laughs. So this is what you do. You just keep tapping it, and then sometimes you can go like this and do the bottom. I can put some green leaves on this too. I might put out a dash of green to put, so I cover up some of the bottom of this so that it has the leaves. And you just keep dabbing away. All of a sudden it'll start to take shape and the painting will be done, and I'll be standing here saying, I didn't realize it was going to be that fast. Already a half an hour. See that? You got to move when you do these shows. You just can't sit here or stand here and talk like you know what you're talking about unless you're doing it. So we're going to get going here. I'm going to start painting this a little tiny bit faster. So we'll put all of this down. I'll add some green, I promise. Like there's just some green on the other one over there, and there's some green on this one. Right, reason I'm putting this on the bottom is that while I go back up to the top, this will dry. And I'm not putting a lot of it on, I'm just putting a dash. Hey, dab, dab, dab. I put the lighter color on the bottom and the darker on the top, so it pushes you up. So little tiny things like that. People don't realize artists do certain things to get certain effects. And sometimes I don't talk about them, but these things go on in your head forever and ever and ever and ever. So you get to the point where you know what you're going to do. And if you don't tell people what you're doing, they don't know. You're sitting on the other side here watching this happen, and you're saying, God, this is so easy. I could do that. Well, go do it. That's what this show's about. This show's about showing you what an artist does. I'm not going to hold on to this stuff forever. I'm going to hold on to it until I'm gone, and then it's going to be gone. But because you've got this show, you might be able to get something out of it. Teaching people how to paint is a difficult thing because everybody has their own opinion, and they're going to do it their way, which is all right. I always say that's the best way. Do it your way. It'll have your signature. You don't have to even sign it. I watched this show, movie, on the way home from San Francisco. We flew into San Francisco, and it's a 5-hour flight from Bend, Oregon. Bend, Oregon's an hour flight. Then to Boston, it's a 5-hour flight. So I watched 3 movies. I'm not a sleeper on the plane, but I can. But I wanted to watch the movies, so I watched, I think, 3 movies. And one of them was about Van Gogh, and I really loved the show. I thought it was fabulous. And here's this priest in Van Gogh's face holding one of his paintings and saying, "This painting is horrible. How could you be such a terrible painter? Who says you're a good painter? Why are you even painting? They're terrible." And Van Gogh looks at him and says, "You know something? I'm not painting for this generation. They will never understand what I'm trying to do. So I'm painting for 100 years from now, when people will come and they'll stand in front of my work and they'll look at it and they'll say, 'What wonderful work. Look at the emotion and the feeling and the,' you know," and the priest says to him, "Where did you get all this information from?" And he says, "Jesus. My father was a minister and I was a minister in training, but I just didn't have the makeup for it. I couldn't get people to change their attitude or the way they thought, and so I decided that I'd rather be an artist and paint. And that's why I know all of this." And the priest looked at him and said, "I don't think so, but because you're talking like this, I've got to at least express that you've changed my attitude about," he was doing all of this talking so he could get out of the psychiatric ward that he was in or the hospital or whatever he was in. They had him in this hospital because they said he tried to commit suicide, but that, in the movie, that didn't show that. It showed 2 young kids going after him, teenagers, and they shot him with a gun. And that's how he died. But in the stories that we've been told all our lives, he committed suicide. I'd like to believe that that's the way it happened because he was a very beautiful artist and a very beautiful person. And he suffered a lot. And you could see his suffering in the movie and his attitude and his mind. And he had a spirit of darkness that was chasing him constantly. All right, we got the leaves on somewhat. Let's dry up some of this. Now, let me tell you something. When I paint a painting like this on a show like this in an hour, I write on the back that this is a demonstration painting. And I'll give somebody a huge discount on it because I'm not one of those paintings that take me a long time. I sell for a lot more. But these kind of paintings I sell for a lot less. And somebody says, "Well, why are your prices all over the place?" I says, "It all depends on where I painted it and how I painted it. If I'm painting outside and I have 50 people standing behind me watching me paint, and I've been painting the same painting for 3 or 4 hours, and somebody comes up and says, 'How much do you want for that painting?' I don't hesitate. I'll say $1,500, $1,700, you know, whatever. Or sometimes $500. It all depends on the size and the attitude. And somebody will take out a credit card and I'll run it through my Square or PayPal that I have in my pocket or in my briefcase or whatever, or in the computer. So I've sold paintings like that. I had my best luck of selling big, expensive paintings on the Channel 2 collection in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s when they had those shows. I'd donate a painting and people would call me up afterwards and say, "I want to buy one of your paintings." They'd come to my studio and buy my painting. It's been around for a long time. People can't understand why I'm not famous. Famous is not a thing you get. It's something that happens after you're dead most of the time. So we get all of the moisture out of the paint, most of it doing the blower, and then we shut it off and we start to look for certain. They're going to get the green, if I can find the right green. Ah, this is good. 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 And so sometimes you say to yourself, well, how do you make the trees go back and forth? Sometimes if you use shading as a helper, you can see it go back and forth. And so I'm going to do this. Even more. I'm only doing one side. So if you do one side of the birch tree, it pushes it back a little. You push it back even further. You just keep going a little. And you dry it. Sometimes I go over this 3 or 4 times. I'm putting a little greener. Push this back some. So every time you touch the canvas with the brush, it has a different effect on the painting. And you're in charge of that, because you are the artist. You can do anything you want. You can make it look greener or darker or lighter or any effect you want. I mean, some people say they don't want all the yellow leaves. Okay, you can do anything you want. It's your painting. If you want orange leaves, put orange leaves on it. Lady with the party, I says, I got the money. It's in the back pocket. You can do anything you want. Said another thing, I have an attitude that I was a hairdresser for 40 years too. That was my other business. That's what put my kids through college, helped me do a lot of things, helped me buy my house. Been very grateful. Met a lot of nice people throughout the years. And so when you get all of these leaves on here and it covers up all of the white part of the branches that I put on. So if you go to the forest and you look at birch trees, most of them have all black leaves, branches. So I put them on as we get towards the end of the painting. I don't think this painting will be ended for a while, but I'm going to do it so that it looks like it's ended. Going over some of the black that I put on just to soften it. All right, so now I'll take black again and put some of those branches on that I was talking about. Might even see some on the ground. Boy, this went really fast. I'm going to slow down a little. I'm getting too good at this. Yeah. So I keep building on this. I keep putting more and more on, and all of a sudden it'll have a three-dimensional effect. I like it when it's like that. I don't care what anybody else does. I can't make everybody happy. When you paint on TV or you paint for somebody, if people love what you've painted, then you're blessed. But if they start telling you, I don't like this, I want that, I don't want to sell them the painting. I just walk away. I say, okay, thank you, and I walk away. I'm sorry, this painting's not for sale now. And then they get a little crazy at you because you won't do what they want. But, you know, you're the artist. I learned something from Johnny Carson. One time he had a guy on the show doing balloons. You know, Mike, they make these things out of balloons. And he says, well, how do you feel like when somebody tells you how to do something? He says, no. I tell them I'm the guy that makes the balloon, not you. And he does it. Well, like, people question certain artists. Like, there's a lady sitting on a park bench. I tell this story a lot. And she's sitting on the park bench, and Picasso walks by. And she says, are you Picasso? And he says, yeah. She says, would you do a sketch of me? He says, absolutely. Takes out his pad, does his sketch, hands it to her, and she says, well, how much do you want for that sketch? And he says, $5,000. And she says, $5,000? Took you less than 15 seconds to do it. He says, oh no, it took a lifetime. And I said, you know something? I learned that. You have to value what you are by what you do, for how long you do it, and how many years you do it, and all the stuff that you do. People don't value that stuff. You don't become the CEO of a big corporation for nothing. You have to climb that ladder, unless your father owns the company. And most of the time when that happens, the company goes bankrupt. So be patient with yourself. You know, you're not going to get it perfect the first 100 paintings. Who cares? They're your first 100 paintings. What I did for the first 100 paintings is, when I was a little kid, if I didn't like it, I put it away, and then I waited a couple of years and painted over it. Some of my paintings in the beginning had 4 or 5 different paintings on them. I mean, good night. I know the paintings. Now people will bring them to me and say, how much? You have this much paint on this canvas. I said, I probably painted 3 or 4 paintings on that canvas. But you know, when I was a kid, I didn't have all this money to buy all of this stuff. I mean, I didn't have this Michaels where you buy one and get 2 canvases free. I mean, I was like, oh my God. Every time they have that sale, I go in and buy 10 or 12 canvases, and I walk out of there with 30 canvases. So I have this huge stock of canvases in the studio, in the storage room. And people say, how come you have so many canvases kicking around? And I'll say, because I'm always going to paint. And if I'm gone and these paintings are left, then one of the grandkids can have them. Somebody else will take over. That's the way this world is. You're not here forever. There's always going to be somebody in line to do what you do, or hope to do what you do. And go on Instagram and look at Ellen Crimi Trent. Her watercolors are fabulous. She's a great artist. That's my daughter. She got a 4-year scholarship to Pratt in New York out of Notre Dame in Hingham. You know, and I kept her, oh God, I drove her crazy ever since she was a little kid, making her do etchings and prints and sketches. And I said, you're going to get into art school with your portfolio, but your portfolio has to have individual personalities, because there's thousands and thousands of people out there that want to get into this school. Oh my God, this is running really well. I love Carol. She's good. She's out there flashing this. I could paint all night and think that I have no time left, and then I have 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 7 minutes. Good night. I mean, the first couple of shows, I cut out one 7 minutes early, thought I was running behind. You do this and your mind goes into another place, and you're looking at this close, and sometimes it's difficult to see how the painting's coming out. If I'm in my studio, I'm sitting in my rocking chair, and I'm way back in here looking and saying, oh boy, I have to fix this here, or I have to do this there. But when you do this show and you're standing here for a whole hour, different. You need people behind you like Carol or my young friend behind me here, and doing the camera to show you what you're doing, what's going on. All of a sudden it starts to take shape. I think this is going to be nice. In fact, I think it's got so much paint, I'm afraid to take it home. I think I might give it to Carol. She can take it home, get paint all over her car. All right, let's dry it. We'll be all done. I won't be able to sign it until I come back the next time. So you see how easy painting is? Painting is something that comes from your heart and your brain. And there's a battle going on between your heart and your brain. Your brain wants to tell you what to do and your heart's showing you what to do. So you somehow have to figure out what you want to listen to and what you want to do. And I'm going to tell you something. Listen to nobody about what they think, unless they're real special. And if they criticize you, they don't become real special. They back them up. You have to be strong-minded and strong-hearted to be a painter, to decide what you want to do with your life, because you're in charge of it. Nice to take advice, nice to listen to people, but they shouldn't control you. I'm still too close to this painting. I want to get back a little and take a look. Not bad. I mean, it really feels like this. See what I mean about the trees? It's an illusion. How some of them are so way back and they're going in and out. This tree's got too much black on it. I'm going to fix that if I can. Find the right brush. Yeah, this one's good. Yeah, I like that better. Maybe it's a little close, but those birch trees can get close. Sometimes you can get carried away doing stuff that you know. So come along and you fix it. And that's why I like sitting in my rocking chair. I look at stuff, I go back and forth, I get up. I spend more time looking at the artwork than doing it. And that's nothing wrong with that, because that teaches you patience, teaches you how to see. Art isn't just painting. Art is a form of experiencing something different that's going on inside your mind and inside the canvas and inside the people around you. Sometimes you have to listen to nobody, and sometimes you should listen to somebody. I always want to find people who are better than me and ask them a million questions, and they get really tired of me real quick. So I wear them out. But you know something? I've learned from a lot of really great artists throughout my life, and they're all passed on and gone, and I miss them. And they've helped me to see, to understand, and that why I do this show, because I'm not trying to show off. I'm trying to give back what God gave me. And talent and ability to paint is a battle, because you have to fight with yourself first and keep pushing yourself, and then you have to push off everybody that doesn't like what you do until you get to the point where they like what you do, and then you have to fight off all of those people because they want a bigger discount, because they feel like they've given you all this knowledge and all of this understanding. Be who you are, paint what you want, and eventually paint something like this, 175, this is 177, I think. And people say, I have a birch tree painting in 100 years from now. And they'll say it belonged to Paul Crimi and he painted it on TV. And I have the original. Good, because I hope they last that long, because what those people in Europe went through with the wars. There was one thing that made me cry. I read it in one of the books that Renoir and Monet and a whole bunch of different artists from that period put a bunch of paintings in this country farm way in the woods, thinking that nothing would ever happen to them while the war was going on. But the Germans found this house and took it over, and they used the paintings to stand on. Carpet. They used it for, like, I don't know how to say it. It was, anyways, they used it, they put it on the floor and they stood on all the canvases and ruined them. And when they came after the war to get them, and they were ruined, they were heartbroken. But they felt that they kept them in Paris where they were, or where they lived, that the Germans would have taken them away anyways. So, you know, I don't know. Who knows? Finally, we get to the point where we can say 3 minutes and talk about it. All right, so I took this particular painting in tonight. I'm going to pick it up off the floor. And I said I'm going to paint something similar. So here it is up on top. I don't know if it'll stay up there. Maybe I have to lower this a little. Yeah, better. Now it'll stay. All right, so we have this to show you. And this one's got a little more texture. It's a little bigger. The trees are a little fatter. Different size canvas, different attitude. And I don't copy my own work. I can use it as a reference to show you what I was going to do. So that's done with. Now I've done that. This is out of the way. This is done. And this is the painting we done tonight. And I think that it came out rather nice for being painted in an hour. So I want to tell you, if you want to paint. Start small, get smaller canvases, and the more courage you get, the bigger the canvas, the bigger the attitude. Really, look at some of the masters. Go steady, Van Gogh and Renoir and Monet and whoever you love, and try to emulate what they've done, and then eventually go into your own direction and paint what you paint from inside of yourself. God bless and good night. Thank you.